On behalf of all of us assembled here today, I should now like to invite our newest alumnus, Dr. David Patchell-Evans, to address Convocation.
You guys are okay if I took off the hat, eh? Thanks. Thank you. I'm just getting over being choked up, so I want to thank the university very much. This is the second time I graduated here. It was a little over 30 years ago, and I want to thank the chancellor, the graduates today. You should feel so proud of yourselves, and your parents. I guarantee you the only time they felt prouder of you than today was the day you were born. I know my mother, who's 92, is sitting down there, thinks the same thing. Yesterday I was at my daughter graduating from grade 8, and I was going, wow. It's a big deal. Don't underestimate what a big deal this is. You're sitting in those chairs, you've come a long way. You've done wonderful things. You should be so proud of yourselves. You know, when I first stood here and graduated, kinesiology was called physical education. It was actually kind of a different world. And as you heard, as I got into it, I approached things a little bit differently. I decided, what did I want to do with my education? Which is a lot different than from what did I want to be. Because when you decide what you want to do, what you become can change as the world changes. And I knew that I was going to change lives. I knew that I wanted to make people live longer, happier, healthier, more energy, more vitality, safer from injury. I knew that I wanted to do that. So the one piece of advice I can give you, because I'm supposed to give you advice, is to think about what you want to do. Because you're going to live a long, vigorous life, and as you become enmeshed in what you do, and if what you do becomes what you love, then you're going to have a very, very exciting life. My university experience here was, I can't think, it was second to none. It was fantastic. I had some fantastic professors like Jack Ferris, who was this current squash coach still. He taught philosophy of physical education. And back then that was a radical idea, philosophy of physical education. But he taught how the mind and body are one. And that whole premise that we're a unit has driven the way I look at the world. There was a rowing coach called Dr. Phil Fitzjames, who was in the immunology department, but he was also the longtime rowing coach here, and he was a crusty old guy. But what he taught you was caring. Despite his toughness and, you know, his relentless way of looking at the world and a very scientific way of looking at the world, he was full of caring. And those guys influenced me to think, and the other professors here influenced me to think of what could be done as opposed to what has been done. As some of you might expect, you know, being in kinesiology, I was reasonably physically active. And, you know, I got involved in rowing, and I wanted to learn how to row and become really good at it, but I had to stay here to run my snowplow business. And the national rowing team was training way out in the west coast of Canada, and I had to break a few rules to get my rowing in during the wintertime because I couldn't go to the west coast of Canada. So I used to sneak my rowing shell into Thames Hall, and I tied it up in the ceiling where people wouldn't notice it, and I'd come in to row at 4:30 in the morning. And I created a contraption of rubber inner tubes so I could row in the swimming pool before the swim team came in. Now you might wonder, why would you do that? Because I couldn't go where the team was, so I wanted to get in shape so I'd be ready to be with the team. So I call that getting an edge. So 12 months later, I was invited to go for the Olympic rowing team in 1980. I'd like you to think about, what are you doing that other people won't do to have an edge? What do you do that sets you apart? Because you're going to need an edge. The world is changing really fast. And the important thing about change is that you be the catalyst of it. So you can be the one that makes change happen, or you can wonder what happened. And right now, you have huge opportunities because you have a whole bunch of knowledge that other people don't have. And they're not really aware of how to use it yet. To give you an example, when I was first in university, we took anatomy and we got to work on bodies. And one of the things I noticed when I was working on the bodies, that smokers' lungs were black and ugly. Non-smokers' lungs were nice, perfect red, fleshy. And I thought, well, obviously no one should smoke. But everyone smoked back then. 70s, everyone smoked. Well, not everybody, but it was totally socially acceptable. When I opened my first club in 1979, I disallowed smoking. You couldn't smoke in the club. People got really upset with me. You know, they used to put all the cigarette butts outside, and you think that's ludicrous. You can't smoke in public places now. But I didn't allow them to smoke in the club. 20 years later, those same members come up and thank me for saving their lives. There is some science you know right now that could save people's lives that isn't common knowledge. Back then, it wasn't normal for people to exercise. What you take for granted. Fitness classes didn't exist back then. Doing cardiovascular exercise, weight training, didn't exist back then. It was just for the athletes. Now it's for everyone. You guys know things now that will help people. Take dental hygiene, key to health. Most people don't know it yet, don't recognize it. It's a huge opportunity for the future. So I want to give you just some ideas of what the kind of challenges you have to be willing to go for to develop some of these opportunities. Is when I first wanted to start my first fitness club, I was worried about, you know, getting the business up and running and all that kind of stuff, and I thought I had this great dream and the way it would work, and nobody else believed it at all. When I wanted to fund that first club, no one would loan me the money, so I had to borrow the money off the snowplowing business that Jim mentioned to get it going. So I got the first club going, got the second club going. I wanted to build my third club. When I went to build my third club, they said, there's too many clubs. And nobody would give me, by the way, we have 300 clubs now. They said, there's too many clubs, no one would give us money. So I went to 30 different banks. Back then, the banks weren't all computerized, so you could go to 3 branches of the TD, they wouldn't know. So I went to all the different banks, no one giving the money. Finally, one guy would give me the money, and I built the third club. Over the years, in fact, for the first 20 years, I sold the house I lived in 5 times to finance a new club. You know, I wasn't a very reliable guy in terms of home. But in terms of dreams, I was willing to take a risk. So my message is for you, be willing to take a risk. Believe in yourself. Believe in what you have inside of you. You can make a huge difference in the world with what you already know. I didn't learn anything different after I left school that changed the lives of so many people. I picked it up there, and I just put it into practice. So I see myself in the same job as you. I see myself as part of the preventative healthcare system of Canada. I see my job to get people fit and to get them healthy. And the reason is they will live long, strong, vigorous lives if they do. And that starts with you guys. I'd like you to just consider that you are the role models, you're the examples. And for you to go out and look after everyone else out there, the most important person you have to look after is yourself. You've probably spent a lot of energy getting this degree. Make sure you spend just as much energy keeping yourself healthy to enjoy it. When you do that, you'll turn everybody else onto the fact that it's mind, body, all of it together, all the time. And just to back this up, Western did some great research that got highlighted in the Globe and Mail just recently. And it talked about how 70% of the disease that we have is preventable by exercise. The research was right here at Western. It's probably stuff that you've covered in your classes. We are on the cusp of living a long time, living strong, living healthy. And you guys in your roles, whether it's in dentistry, in nursing, and the different health sciences, you will be on the cutting edge, and you have huge opportunities to grasp that and lead people. And when something's going to happen to you in a little while, and you're not going to know what it is. But it's going to happen like in the next 3 months, the next 6 months. But something's going to happen that's going to set you into your doing. And you're going to find an edge, like I was talking about, getting up early in the morning. And there's something that helped me in my doing was when I was 32, and I'd already been running my business for a while, I got arthritis. And I found out what it was like to become old overnight. And I had really bad arthritis. And I had to adapt. And then I learned how to adapt and how to move with arthritis and get healthier again. And that process taught me empathy. Empathy of how everyone needs the benefits of fitness, how everyone can live stronger no matter where they start from. The last thing I'd like to give you is the idea of empathy. So it's one thing to know what you want to do. It's another thing to have an edge. But the most important thing is to care about other people. And that can be the best edge of all. So I encourage you to go forward in your careers, caring about people, knowing what you want to do, and having a little extra way to do it. Good luck.